Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. Okay, we have loads of questions for you today. We'll get to them in just a moment. First off, you're going to have to forgive me a little bit, I'm afraid. I am getting battered by my allergies today, all right? So I'm sounding all bunged up, all sorts of weird stuff's going on. I'm losing my voice here. We're going to soldier on anyway, all right? So you're just going to have to put up with me sounding like Kermit the Frog. So, before we jump into these questions, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that sort of thing. Ring the Kendo bell to get better at Kendo. And most importantly, support the channel by shopping at KendoStar.com. Look, I don't need to push this, do I? Do I? I do it every week. You should know by now. If it's your first time watching, you need to shop at KendoStar.com because that's what keeps the lights on. But most importantly, it's the best Kendo equipment website like ever. Of course, I would say that. I own the place. All right, so check out our Trustpilot rating. Ask some of the people in your dojo. You'll find that what I'm saying is the truth. Right, now, let's get into these questions. Okay, first one. Hello, Fisher Sensei. Recently, our dojo instructor recommended not to use any piece of equipment that could be perceived as flashy, especially when visiting other dojos. To be more precise, he was referring to the tsubadome. Any thoughts on this etiquette manner? Thank you. All right, so, yeah, look, I don't really like this attitude, to be honest. It depends, all right? Yeah, when you're visiting other dojos, if you're going to sort of wear, like, super out of the ordinary, like, green bogu with, like, cartoon characters on it, or anything like that, and start going around to other dojos representing your teacher, that's one thing. But, like, a tsubadome, nobody looks or cares about that. Like, that's not flashy. Like, a tsubadome? Come on. Or a tsuba, you know, or different coloured door. Like, don't let anyone tell you that a different coloured door is flashy. It's not, all right? It's your borg, it's your money. But, you know, of course, like I say, there is a sort of limit. But, you know, I'd speak to your sensei about it a bit. But, yeah, from my point of view, it's tsubadome. Like, nobody cares about that. They shouldn't. And if they do, they're doing it wrong, okay? Okay, next one. Kind of related to the questions about Kyusha Taikai and Aiuchi. As a Q grade, when I'm doing Jigeko and other types of free sparring with other Q grades, I often find that we just get into a rhythm of both striking men at each other repeatedly at the same time, with neither of us really making yuko datotu. I've spoken to higher grades about getting past this and usually say something like breaking the rhythm, striking with different timing or something. But I'm still finding it hard to make anything that feels like a point. It feels like whenever I move, the other guy moves at the same time. Sometimes I try to get through with other waza, but I can't. I can tell that they aren't really good enough either. And I feel like I should be capable of just scoring a clean men. Any quick tips on this? Or just a case of more kakarigeko, thanks. Well, obviously, more kakarigeko will always help. Definitely. Look, one of the things I usually find with Kyusha is there's this weird myth going around that, like, in Jigeko, you should use the large swings of the shinai. It's total nonsense. It's rubbish. You know, and that, like, small swings are just for shiai or something stupid like that. It's nonsense. Correct men strike in Kendo doesn't lift the shinai over the head when you're doing it in the, you know, the actual men strike. This is the kihon to practice your technique so that you can do the small one. So when you're in Keiko, you should be using the small swing of the shinai. And, you know, if they go at the same time, if you move first, well, theoretically, you should hit first, right? But if you're bringing the shinai all the way over your head, then, you know, that's going to cost you time. All right? So, yeah. It's been on my mind a little bit since, like, the other weekend I was sat on a grading panel. And I was sat on the grading panel for Nidan up to 4th Dan, but there was another court on the other side doing Ikkyu and Shodan. and all of the, not all, but lots of the IQs making these huge men strikes, like in their jitsugi for the grading. And it's something I see a lot, and it's, you know, I think it's incorrect instruction that they should be making strikes like that in their keiko, in their jigeko. Those sort of strikes are for kirikaishi and uchikomi. Those sort of things to improve your ability and your actual jisen waza, your real waza, should be small swings. So I think that's probably where this is. And other than that, it is indeed going to be a case of more practice, improving your ability. Okay, so yes, to some extent, more karieko. I mean, yeah, you can try and break the rhythm, stuff like that, but that's one thing, you know. Okay, if they move when you hit men, try to do the door or something, or hit the kote first. It's just going to take time. Don't expect it to happen quickly, all right? I'm sure you'll get there, though, all right? Just keep practicing. Okay, next one, and I'm going to make another apology for my voice, all right? I can feel it getting more and more bunged up, all right? So I'll try and get through this so you don't have to suffer it too long, all right? So sorry about that. I have a men I bought already used, but in great condition. Okay, so you bought a used men, it was in good condition. Okay, what I noticed is the mengane, the cage, is slightly off. When I put the men on, the mengane is tilted to one side, although the men itself is put on the head properly. I don't have any problems with other men that I used, and it saddens me not to use this one because it's nearly pristine condition. Is there a way for me to tilt the cage on the men back to the right position, or is it something that can't be done? All right, so it could be a few things. It's very unusual that something like that would happen. There's something gone wrong in the construction of it if the mengane really is tilted on the men, because you can't really assemble a men properly and do that without making some sort of serious error. So my first sort of instinct would be that probably it might just need breaking in a little bit more. Maybe, you know, the way your face sits in that specific uchiwa isn't quite, the uchiwa itself might not be quite, you know, the padding in it might be a little bit unevenly distributed. That can happen, but that will get better with time. If it really is like a problem with the construction of the men and it has been put on skewed, there's nothing you can do to fix that. It needs taken apart. So yeah, sorry. That might be why you were able to pick it up secondhand. When I was working in Japan, we would greet our workmates with "Ohayo gozaimasu," no matter what time it was. Is the greeting the same at Kendo? No, it's not. So "Ohayo gozaimasu" is usually used it's usually translated as "good morning," but it means you're earlier than I am. So people use it at work sometimes if they come in like in the afternoon, but other workers are there earlier than they are. They would still say "Ohayo gozaimasu," like you're here early. It's a bit of a linguistic difference between English and Japanese. Like at the end of the day, working day, they tend not to say goodbye, sayonara. They don't say that. They tend to say "otsukaresama deshita" or "osaki ni shitsurei shimasu," something like that. So "osaki ni shitsurei shimasu" would be forgive me, I'm rude for leaving before you. And "otsukaresama deshita" would be you're tired. You worked hard, so you must be tired. Kind of loose translation. In Kendo, we don't use it though. It's not really appropriate to turn up to the dojo and say "Ohayo gozaimasu." So unless it's the morning. If it's morning, if it's like asageko, early morning practice, or if it is, you know, before noon, you could say "Ohayo gozaimasu." That's perfectly acceptable. If it's during the daytime before the sun has set, you would just say, in Japan, you would just say "konnichiwa." And if it was after the sun has set, you would say "konbanwa." Okay, so good evening. You wouldn't really say "konnichiwa" if the sun was down. If you really wanted to get into it, okay? So yeah. Okay, next one. So it's quite a long one. Hi Andy, I was watching Kendo RANT from a few months or a year ago, and I think, and one of the questions was something similar to a situation that I get into sometimes, but not quite. I'm going to have to move for a few months to a nearby city, but there's no Kendo dojos there. I may be able to go to a dojo once in a month or maybe 2 times, but that's it. Also, there are some Aikido dojos and a group that trains in historical European martial arts. So what do you think is my best option? Just to stick to my dojo training and suburi at home, or maybe some of these dojos or this group can help me in some way? Any suggestions in a situation like this? So if it's only a temporary move, where you'll only be there for a few months, probably best not to kind of put any roots down in terms of Kendo, because you're going to get up and leave. But if it's going to be several years or a long-term thing that you're going to be there, then yeah, if it was me, I'd probably get in touch with these Aikido groups or the other groups, whatever, and see if anybody is interested in practicing Kendo with you and that you'll teach them. Obviously, I have no idea what your experience level is, but you're clearly experienced to some extent. Even if you're reasonably at the beginning, you can still take them through the very basics. You can use my videos to help you with that, and go to the other dojo once or twice a month to get guidance from them as well, and ask around there. It might be that somebody lives nearer over to you and you can set something up halfway. You never know. So where there's a will, there's a way. So I'm sure you'll manage. But if you're only going to be there like 2 or 3 months, then I'd just practice at home and then go to the dojo once or twice a month that's nearby, rather than sort of setting up routes that you're only going to leave behind. But still, go and talk to the dojo that you can go to. And like I say, maybe there's somebody that's sort of lives nearer to where you are, and maybe you can sort of set something up privately, even in a sort of short-term format. So yeah, that's what I'd do. Okay, next one. This is probably a question for the Kendo Show instructional videos as opposed to the rants, but could you do something on a strategy against Nito players at some point, perhaps? Yeah, potentially. I'd rather do a video on a strategy of how to play against them than how to play as one. But like in a nutshell, obviously it's a little bit awkward at the minute, but Hikiwaza is always very useful against the Nito players because most of them can't do it. So you're at an advantage because you can perform waza from Tsubuzeri and most of them can't. As a general rule, they can't score with the shoto from Tsubuzeri. And most of them can't do the katate waza from Tsubuzeri unless they're very, very good. Very, very good Nito players are exceptionally rare. So that's one thing. One thing that I would also say is, without dwelling on this too much, try not to interact with their shoto. All right, they use the shoto to control the tachiai. They try to disturb your kamae with their shoto before striking. So if you take away that interaction, many Nito players tend to struggle when they're not able to interact with your shinai with their shoto. So for me, I would instead of holding the straight kamae here, like against Jordan. If they're doing this kind of Nito, I don't know which one's Sei Nito and which one's Gyaku Nito. I don't care either, so don't comment. Yeah. If they're doing like this one, then obviously it's the same as Jordan, right? So your Shinai is going to be this way or this way. If they're doing the other one like this, then probably this one is better anyway. This one's not too bad actually against it, but probably this one. But don't interact with their shoto. All right. I know in Chudan we would put the shinai together, but don't do that with the Nito player because they're just gonna push it out the way and then hit you with the other one, because that's basically their trick. So, yeah. So that's what I would do, and. The last thing is try not to overdo any sort of step in or seme before you strike. Try to strike instantly from your kamae. Try to subtly get to your distance and then immediately strike without any sort of preparation or seme. Don't go like this, because for the most part, the minute you start doing that, the hand's coming up and they're gonna block. Like if they're like this. This is what they do, is they've got the long one here and they've got a little one here. I'm going to use a pen because it's about as useful. And they're going to basically, as soon as they think that you're coming, they're going to go like this. Like this. That's what they almost always do. If you can strike immediately from your kamae, you'll have a lot more success. So yeah. Okay, next one. Hello, what has been the reason for you to start Kendo, and how has that reason evolved over the years at different stages of your life? Though I'm very early to the journey, and I do find myself caring for more shallow aspects, I do see how beautiful the core purpose is. I try to enjoy the beginnings of the journey for what they are, and while trying to be mindful of trying to evolve my understanding. Sort of a second question is whether there's been any events that singularly affected your view of Kendo, or has it mostly been a gradual shift in your reasons to love and stick to it? Also, okay. So I started Kendo because a friend of mine used to do it. They quit and they gave me an old shinai of theirs. I thought it was awesome. I'd seen sort of Kendo a little bit before. I sort of knew what it was from various sort of popular culture references. And I searched it up online and I found out that there was a club starting the following week. All right. When I say online, I mean this is the first early days of online, like with dial-up modems. So I sat and turned on my computer and listened to all the beeps and bops while it dialed into the internet, and managed to find a club that was just about to start. So that's how I started. And how's it evolved over the stages? And well, I mean, look, you know, I've said this before. It's a bit of a controversial take, perhaps, but I've got probably a little bit of an unusual approach or outlook on Kendo. Kendo, I don't consider Kendo as something that I enjoy. Of course, I enjoy it sometimes, and I mostly enjoy it. Sometimes I hate it. Sometimes I absolutely despise it. Sometimes it's horrible. Sometimes I wish I could quit. That doesn't last long, that feeling, but sometimes I have it. When I started Kendo, it really took hold of me, and it never let go. And since, my early days, of course, it was different. The early days, I loved it. I absolutely loved every second of doing Kendo. I enjoyed it so much. And it was all I could think about, all I wanted to do. And then I wanted to join the national team. So I worked really hard to join the national team, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Shiai was a big part of my Kendo in my early years. Joined the international tournaments, wanted to increase my ability, moved to Japan, got involved in the Kendo industry. But at some point, Kendo really consumed me, and it's become such a steadfast part of my integral being that it's not something that I do because I like it. It's something that it's just something that I consider necessary, like eating. Sometimes I enjoy eating. Most of the time I enjoy eating. My wife's a wonderful cook, thankfully, because I'm rubbish. Well, sometimes I don't. Most of the time I enjoy sleeping. Sometimes I don't. But these are necessary. And Kendo is very similar for me. Of course, I love it with all my being. And sometimes I hate it. Sometimes I wish I could give it up. But if I go 3 days without doing Kendo, I start to get sort of stressed about it and I want to do it. So I have a very strange relationship with Kendo. Not one that I recommend. But I do love it. I do. But to say it's not something that I derive fun from, let's say. I derive more stress from it than I derive fun, let's put it that way. But it doesn't make me love it any less, I guess I should say. In terms of singular events, no, not really. I mean, I've been very exceptionally lucky and fortunate to experience many things that the majority of people in my situation would normally never get to experience. So you know, I've been exceptionally lucky, and I've experienced some things that I'll never forget, thanks to Kendo and because of Kendo. But I couldn't pinpoint a single one that's particularly affected me. All of these things have come together. In addition to my daily shugyo training or journey to help form my current attitude towards Kendo, I guess. So yeah, that was a weird answer. Let's move on. Okay, next one. Hello, Andy. My question is around jewellery. From my understanding, unless religious related or something like a wedding ring, jewellery should not be worn during training. Would this apply to fitness or health jewellery, such things like Fitbit, heart rate monitors, oxygen monitors, etc.? These are generally worn around the wrist and get covered when wearing the kote, but they're visible when doing suburi, which may not be ideal. Please share your opinion on the matter, on or off. All right. I don't wear any jewellery when doing Kendo. There's obviously no hard and fast rule you must not wear. I know lots of people wear the wedding rings when they do it. I take mine off because I don't want it to get damaged. You know, I have heard of people who have been struck on the finger and their wedding ring is broken and then injured their fingers. So I take mine off. I have in the past worn, you know, I've seen people that wear, and I guess I've worn, like, you know, those like magnetic, magnesium or whatever they are, like things that were popular like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, were they? You know, like those sports things, they used to have them. I guess I don't feel like I see them that much anymore. Maybe it was just popular in Japan. I don't know. I used to have those sometimes, but I used to take them off for Keiko though, thinking about it. About like a Fitbit or something like that. I mean, I don't think it's a good idea to wear an electronic device under your kote. Seems to me like it could easily get broken, and they're kind of expensive. So, doesn't seem like a great plan to me. What I have done before is sometimes I use a heart rate monitor. To monitor my own performance, but I use a chest strap one under my dogi. Don't really like it though, so I prefer not to. You know, but you know, yeah. When you're doing suburi, I don't see the problem wearing a heart rate monitor or something like that, unless you're doing like, don't do it at a grading or something though. Okay. A bit oblique. But what were Shinai Tsuru made of before nylon? Don't know. No idea. Cotton, maybe? I don't know. Don't know. No idea. Don't ask me history questions. I really don't know. To be honest. I'm sure it'll have been some natural material. They'll have had other kinds of twine, right? There's probably all different types of ones. They're not all made of nylon, actually, but anyway. Let's move on. Hi Andy, in what circumstances are kata done with katana instead of bokuto? Usually only in demonstration, okay? Like before a tournament or something like that. It's a very, very, very rare situation that you would need to use a katana, a metal sword, for kata. And they're not real swords either. They're not actually katana. They look like katana, but they're like fake swords, yeah? They're mogito. So they're made of metal still, but it's like an alloy and it's thick and you can't sharpen it. They're blunt, of course. I mean, still gonna blooming hurt if you get hit by one, so still have to be super careful. But like in my whole life, I think I've done kata with those like twice. So I mean, no, I mean I think I've done that sort of demonstration twice. So I've practiced with them a handful of times before that. But so far up to now I've done that sort of demonstration twice. So with the real sword. So yeah. Okay, last one. Hi, Andy. Thank you for all you do for the community. No, thank you for putting up with me, especially when I'm all like this blocked up. I want to ask today about the center. More specifically, when I'm practicing Menuchi in Kihon, I have no problem hitting straight down into the center of my multi-daichi's men. However, during Keigo against everyone in entry level, I struggle to perform I-men properly. 99% of the time, my shinai ends up on their right shoulder. I see more advanced players adjust their angle by stepping to the right a step before going into the strike. They always strike my men before I strike them right shoulder. How do you know why this could be the case? And should I remedy this problem by adjusting my approach angle before or as I semi in? Thank you. Okay, so look, it's not right to do a men strike like this. All right, you must strike straight. All right, that doesn't mean to say that when you step in, you have to step in straight. You can step in slightly to an angle, but you must strike straight. Look, if you're missing and hitting them on the shoulder, it just means you're too slow. So you're setting off a little bit late. And as with the other guy further up the question list, the chances are you're probably swinging the shinai too high, too much. Maybe like this or like this, when really it needs to be, you don't want to swing this way. You don't want to swing this way. You need to swing this way, okay? This way. All right, so use your body to launch forward, fumikomi, and wrists, tenoichi, small strike, straight, move straight, and try to hit them before they hit you. If you, like I say, if you're hitting the right shoulder, chances are you're setting off a fraction of a second behind them. Okay? That's it. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for putting up with my blocked up nose and weird Muppet voice. Hopefully it'll be better next week. Have a great weekend. See you all next time. Shop at KendoStar. Bye-bye.